need to hear what these motherfuckers gon' say. Taking my tough, now they really want some gunplay. We blood, I'm gon' pay like Cain did Abel. God did the devil was the.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Gangsta Rap Odyssey. We got a very special episode today. What we have in our hands here is Dru Down, Gangsta Pimpin. This record was to drop on Ruthless Records. I think it was like in 2001 or something like that. Basically, the lights were flickering at Ruthless Records at that point. But what do you know, man? I didn't know they had physical copies of this, and they do. I found this sucker on eBay, pretty cheap, less than $20. You can see the case is cracked here. It was, sealed when I got it. The packaging. You could tell that this thing was under somebody's shelf for like 20 years or so. Here's the side of it. And it's a rare CD. I didn't know that this was gonna ever drop. Obviously, or sadly, it was not under Ruthless Records. You can see it's under C Note here. But the first track, Dru Down, gives props to Ruthless Records. So this is definitely from the era of his short signing on Ruthless Records. Let's just take a look at it here, and I'll show you what we got. Here's the CD case, or the CD itself. It's pretty fresh, man. I like the graphics. I like the design. We'll just take it out here, and this reflection is just going to go nuts here, but it's just this dark silhouette. Nothing too crazy. Let's take a look at the case, or the sleeve. We got the sleeve here, and then we have this text, which is really hard to read anything out of, man. I was trying to read the credits on here. The only familiar name I could really pick up was Vegas. Vegas from y'all. I'm familiar with Vegas from his Death Row stuff. And then we got a cool silhouette there again. I did see Ruthless Records on here, the studio. But hey, you know what? Good luck reading this thing, man. Like, what? I need things in English. And there's the back of the sleeve. It's pretty dope. So yeah, that's what we have in our hands here. Boom and boom. It's a rare release. It's pretty sweet to have it. Now, how about the album itself? I took a listen, and I was pretty impressed, actually. The record has some pretty dope producers on there. If we look at the wiki, we'll see some of the credits on here. And I think that, Vegas obviously is the more noticeable one on here. Some of the other ones I don't really recognize too well, like The Products or Nemo, Kenny McLeod. Guys I just don't really recognize. Polly Paul. But, that's all right. That doesn't take away from some of the dope tracks, for sure. Let's just go through it, man. We start off with, and even the back of it, is readable, but it's still a little bit hard to read. Let me just show you the back one more time here. We got this weird graphic here. I think traffic moving fast or something with the lights and the silhouettes too. But try to read that track list. Am I an old man? Sure. I can't read it hardly. Either way, who cares? It's on Spotify. Lucky for us. It caught my eye on Spotify a few weeks ago. I'm not sure how long it's been there, but that's where it got back on my radar, and I went ahead and looked online and found the physical CD. Good find. Wasn't too expensive either. It wasn't $200 or nothing like that. and I thought it would be dope to have it in the collection. So what do I think about the record? I think it's got some dope tracks. I like the Ear Hustler, has a dope sample. His rhymes are pretty dope. I like the Ruthless shout out on Gangsta Pimpin. There's some really dope beats on here. What You Speaking On has a cool beat. I like the record scratching. Even No Stopping My Hustle. It's he starts to get into his retro vintage self, and that carries through the rest of the record. Really, a lot of what you would consider vintage lyrics, old school lyrics. It's pretty dope, man. Tracks like Gangstafied, just a funky track, man. Big Bay Area sound, impressive keys, the beats and the vocals. And Dru Down was, I don't know if he was on top of his game here, but his lyrics and his flow were not disappointing. Some of the, he's got Pimp of the Year Part 2, and usually I don't like it when people do Part 2s, but this one is dope. It's a dope beat. It's a timeless beat. It just seems timeless. It continues. The classic hits continue with Jam on It, which is some retro '80s type of rhythm. I'm not sure exactly where they got that beat from, but I've heard it done on Esham's Bruce Wayne record. And man, it's just a trip back in time to hear it. So I recommend you check out Jam on It and Pip of the Year for sure, if anything. There's a couple surprises on here. Yuckmouth makes an appearance, and what I like about it, he makes an appearance on a track called Mo Guns. This is for sure that vintage Yuckmouth from Rap-A-Lot. Talking albulation flow. He's got a Godzilla reference. He throws some props out to Rap-A-Lot Mafia, and Dru Down on here, like you'll find on much of the record, is highly creative and charismatic. This is definitely that 99 2000 Yuck flow. He's got that mean flow, it's hella dope. And another surprise artist on here, which is really the only Ruthless Records cameo, would be Silky Fine, and she sounds great on here. The beat's pretty dope. It's appropriate for the track. Silky Fine hardly had many tracks come out under her Ruthless record contract that I could find anyways. She had that great spot on First Power with the legendary Eazy-E, of course. But on here, I mean, she wasn't as aggressive or as mean, but she still sounded cool, It was a welcome listen for sure to find another Silky Fine track, and the beat's pretty cool, We got Don't Shoot the Pimpin' on here too with Sugar Free. And you would think Sugar Free and Dru Down are just like perfect together, right? Like they sound pretty cool. And AMG, he sounds great, I find that, looking back, the older I get, the more I kind of see how I didn't really appreciate AMG as much as I should have or could have, back in the day. But, that's just looking back, older, wiser now. But Sugar Free doesn't disappoint. He's got some classic lyrics on there. But he does the track does date itself a little bit with the Green Giant reference. You guys remember what was that vegetable company with the Green Giant? Ho ho ho, Green Giant. I was like, man, I haven't heard of that in a minute. I think they just stopped wanting to say ho 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 on TV. Who knows? But either way, man, that took me back. Like I said, man, just vintage after vintage parts on this record. The track Paper, it's a hell of a gangsta hustler West Coast beat. It does not disappoint. And then the track I Rock, it's a slow track, but it's impressive. It's a smooth, slow track. there's not many of those on the album. They're more upbeat. Dru Down, his voice, his charisma just lends itself to more of a upbeat vibe. You know, his records are. I actually haven't went back and listened to any of his other old school records. I don't know that. I imagine they're upbeat though. That just seems the kind of personality that Dru Down has as a rapper. Is more upbeat tracks. I was surprised to hear Hootie Hoo on there because I thought that was a No Limit thing, but you know, Hootie Hoo must. I mean, I had to Google Hootie Hoo. I'm like, oh, you know, what? Who made this up? This Hootie Hoo thing, man. Have any of you guys tried Hootie Hoo cereal? I haven't. I haven't seen it. But either way, yeah, that was something else. True said it in 1999. This album came out like around that area or around that time. So who knows where Hootie Hoo came from? And then we got Give It Up. You know, it's a Give It Up is definitely a dope track, man. It's definitely that Bay Area dope pimp funk. You know that Dru Down is for show from that Bay Area. Hella West Coast here. It is great. It is a great track. One of my favorites is Give It Up. And then the track following that is also another great track, With It, With It. I have a feeling that With It, With It was a single maybe. I don't know. Do you guys remember if that was a single? It's catchy, and there's a nice use of guitars on there. And there's some guitar use on this record that's just kind of subtle, but it's there, you know. With It, With It, probably one of the gems on here. But right after that, there's this track, Giving Up Nothing, which is just a gangsta-ass track, man. I don't know if it's the flow that's gangsta or it's the beat, but it all comes together nicely. You know, we got Corrupt on there in a badass verse. Like, talk about nostalgia, man. Like, badass. Just from the grave, I feel like, comes out with the verse on here it's kind of short, but it's dope, man. You know, these are just some of the gems that make a gangsta immortal. You know, you find these tracks that you never heard before in your life, and you're like, damn, Badass was on here. You know, Badass. Rest in peace, man. But Badass and Corrupt sound dope together. I'm not sure if there was supposed to be a Daz verse on here because, you know, he gives props to Daz. But, you know, he always gives props to Daz, so who knows? And then the record finishes off with Bloodsucker, which is a highly creative, charismatic track. You know, it really shows that Dru Down has some versatility in his game. You know, and it doesn't have to show versatility by making slow jams or, you know, selling out, making bitch music or anything like that. It's one of the highlights of the record, sure. But overall, you know, I give it a 7.9, man. I think 7.9, that's just what the math did for me, you know, on the average. But I think it nails it, you know, 7.9. It's definitely worth the download. Find it on Spotify. I don't know if you'll ever see this in the record shop, but if you do, it won't be expensive, I bet. Not yet. Definitely worth it. I'm happy with the album. I've bumped it several times now just to get a real feel for it, and it does not disappoint. It's a great album. Is it dope? Yeah, it's dope. Does it stand the test of time? You know, that's a little shaky. There's a lot of lines on here that kind of ages the songs, the music, but it's really, that's what I really like about it, is like you want a record that'll take you back. This will take you back. What can you say, man? He's just laying down the vocals that are real in his lifetime at that point, and just some of the things that are talked about. It's just like, man, that stuff just never dies. You know, pimpin' never dies. You know, that Gangsta Pimpin' just doesn't die. And Dru Down was one of the few that have done it really well. You know, there's rappers that do pimpin', and then there's gangsta rappers. Rarely can a rapper really do both and do it well. But you know, we got Too Short, of course. Dru Down. Who else, man? Sugar Free, of course. It's rare that people walk that fine line of Gangsta Pimpin. Tru Short is probably more of a pimp rapper than gangsta rapper, to tell you the truth. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7.9. I think it's a dope record. If you find it on Spotify, download it, check it out. I'll leave a link in the show notes. All right, that's gonna do it for this week's show. Remember to check us out on Apple Podcasts. I'll leave a link in the description, or Spotify. We do have a podcast, and every Monday you'll get New Music Monday, not just generic rap or whatever they come out with these days, but I'm talking about new music from the legends. I've had some Cool Keith, some Corrupt and Daz and Devin the Dude. So I'm finding them legends, man. I'm seeking out them legends. I'm making a playlist and checking it twice. Subscribe, find me on there. And of course the YouTube channel, man. Hit a subscribe on here, give us a like or whatever, leave a comment. And I gotta give props to IB of Cypha Klan. From this track was provided by this gentleman, and I'm gonna leave a link in the description. But I got the track from SoundCloud, and if you want your track supported or promoted on the Gangsta Rap Odyssey, hit me up at gangstarapodyssey@gmail.com, or just find me on Facebook or wherever, man. You can reach me. If you're listening to this, you know how to reach me. You can find me. But big props out, big shout out to IB of the Cypha Klan. This track is called The Good, The Bad, The Ugly. Check them out on SoundCloud. Yeah, we'll see you next time. Peace.
The only mistake was before those cats say shit, they should have been smarter. From their body dismembered, and every member in every month sent to their mothers. So they'll have to remember whenever my name crosses their mind, anytime season or weather. It's gotta be you or me in the coffin. It definitely won't be me. Predestined, inevitable death when you're fucking with me. That be unforeseen, I'll give you light picture so y'all can see the choice. Predestined, for you're not destined to be planted 6 feet, but you can be destined to be born to bear 3 feet. Based on your religious belief, my soldiers always on attention, and will be only at ease till y'all deceased. Live led to the temples, men are much obliged. Target on precision, I don't compromise. I get cooked up, I love the smell of gunpowders. I get cooked up cause I mix with the gunpowder. Johnny the mad dog, without a leash, all deceased. 6 to a Z's, bullets set in the breach. Nobody crosses when water crosses over the breach. Don't fuck with me. Cypha Klan.